Everyone knows the hand of God. Everyone knows Thierry Henry's handball against Ireland. We told both of those stories already, right here on this channel. But here's what almost nobody talks about. Those two are just the most famous entries on a much longer list. A World Cup final that was decided by a hand nobody punished. A future Ballon d'Or winner who scored the exact same illegal goal as Maradona and got away with it. A referee who was so embarrassed he apologized in the other team's locker room after the final whistle. 6 more handball goals that actually changed the outcome of a match. And one that isn't even a goal at all, but changed a World Cup final anyway.
Welcome back to Football Actually. If you're here for another deep dive into Maradona or Henry, go watch video number 12. We already gave those two the full treatment. This is the sequel nobody asked for, but everybody needed. The other handball goals. The ones involving World Cup winners, future Ballon d'Or holders, and one Premier League player who became famous for a completely different handball 3 years earlier. We've got one honorable mention, a World Cup final won by a handball that stopped a goal instead of making one, then a countdown of 6 goals scored, at least partly, with a hand. And near the end, we're breaking down the actual rule book, because handball is one of the most misunderstood laws in the sport. Most people, including some professional commentators, still get it wrong. Let's start with the one that isn't technically on topic at all, but you'll see why it belongs here.
June 17th, 1962, Santiago, Chile. Brazil are defending their World Cup title against Czechoslovakia in the final, leading 2-1 with about 20 minutes left. A Czechoslovak attack breaks into the Brazilian box, and defender Djalma Santos deliberately handles the ball to stop it. The referee doesn't award a penalty, doesn't show a card. Play just continues. Brazil hang on, add a 3rd goal before the final whistle, and win the World Cup 3-1. Here's why this counts as an honorable mention instead of a full entry. It's not a handball goal. It's the mirror image. A deliberate handball that prevented a goal in a World Cup final that never got punished. Every entry after this one is about a hand that helped the ball go in. This is the one time a hand kept it out, and it might have changed a World Cup final just as much as any of them. Now, on to the goals that actually went in.
February 22nd, 2019, London Stadium. Fulham are fighting relegation and lead 1-0 early on. Then, from a corner, the ball bounces around the 6-yard box, and a West Ham striker, this was his 50th Premier League goal, a genuine milestone, jabs it home. Except replays make it obvious. The final touch is off his arm, not his head. Referee Lee Mason and his assistants miss it completely. Goal stands. West Ham go on to win 3-1. This exact kind of call is precisely why the Premier League brought in VAR the very next season. And it's our first sign that referees genuinely can't always see a touch that happens in a crowded box at full speed.
May 19th, 2024, the final day of the season. Arsenal need a big win to keep pressure on Manchester City in the title race. Late in the match, the ball strikes an Arsenal midfielder's arm inside his own half, well before the goal, and falls to a teammate who squares it for Kai Havertz to score from close range. The VAR sends the referee to the pitch-side monitor to consider disallowing it. And this is where it gets genuinely interesting, not just controversial. Under the actual laws of the game, an accidental handball in the build-up only cancels a goal if it's the goal scorer's own touch or a deliberate act by a teammate. Since the touch was ruled accidental and it wasn't the scorer who made it, the referee overturns nothing. Goal stands. Arsenal win. That distinction, scorer versus teammate, deliberate versus accidental, is exactly the kind of detail we're coming back to properly in a few minutes.
June 20th, 2010. Group Stage, 2010 World Cup.
Brazil are already ahead through a first-half strike, and just after the hour mark, striker Luis Fabiano collects a high ball inside the box. Slowed down, the replay is almost comedic. The ball hits his hand once, then hits it again, before he finally brings it under control, dances past 3 defenders, and finishes. French referee Stéphane Lanoy doesn't call it either time. Brazil go on to win 3-1. After the match, Fabiano was asked directly whether he handled it.
His answer? It was accidental, he said. The ball had come off his shoulder, not his hand. Nobody who watched the replay agreed with him, and the clip still gets replayed every World Cup as one of the clearest double handball goals never punished.
January 6th, 2013. FA Cup third round. Liverpool are red-hot favorites against non-league Mansfield Town, and the game is closer than anyone expected. In the 59th minute, Liverpool's Luis Suarez controls a bouncing ball by clearly bringing it down with his hand, then finishes to make it 2-0. Liverpool hang on to win 2-1 after Mansfield pull one back late. Here's the twist that makes this one stick. Just 2.5 years earlier, at the 2010 World Cup, Suarez became globally infamous for a completely different handball, deliberately punching a goal-bound shot off the line against Ghana to save his own team and getting sent off for it on purpose. Now, here he was, benefiting from the exact kind of call that had defined his career. Except this time, nobody sent him off. His own manager, Brendan Rodgers, admitted afterward, there's no doubt it was handball, but the referee and the officials ruled it wasn't deliberate. March 6th, 2001. Champions League group stage. Real Madrid are trailing Leeds United away from home when star forward Raul equalizes with a strike that clearly comes off his hand first. Referee Ryszard Wojcik and his assistants miss it entirely. Goal stands. Real Madrid go on to win 3-2. Asked about it afterward, Raul gave one of the most quoted non-denials in football history. "I don't know what I hit the ball with." UEFA didn't find that convincing. They fined him roughly £7,500 and banned him for one match for what they called a manifest act of cheating. And in a detail that almost never happens in this sport, the referee was reportedly so embarrassed by his own mistake that he went into the Leeds dressing room after the final whistle to apologize in person. June 9th, 2007. A Catalan derby, Barcelona against Espanyol. A cross drifts toward the box, and a young Lionel Messi, already being talked about as the best player of his generation, rises to meet it. He palms the ball with his hand, then it deflects off his head and into the net. Espanyol's players surround the referee immediately. The goal stands anyway. It's almost an exact recreation of Maradona's motion in 1986. Hand up first, contact with the head used as cover, and commentators nicknamed it on the spot, Hand of God 2.0. Barcelona went on to thump Espanyol 5-1, with Messi grabbing a hat trick that day. So this one goal didn't even decide the result on its own. But it's on this list because of what it proves. This isn't a one-generation problem. Even the players who go on to be called the greatest of all time have, at least once, won a goal with a hand instead of a head. After 6 goals like that, you'd think the ball touched a hand is the whole test. It isn't, and this is genuinely one of the most misunderstood rules in football, even among people who've watched the sport for decades. Here's what Law 12 actually says. It's only handball if the contact is deliberate, or if the hand or arm makes the player's body unnaturally bigger than its natural silhouette, raised away from the body, not tucked in. A ball that cannons off a defender's arm pinned tightly to their side, with nowhere to move it out of the way in time, usually isn't a foul at all, even though the ball clearly touched the arm. That's exactly why the Havertz goal from earlier stood, and it's why commentators arguing it hit his arm, it has to be handball, get it wrong constantly on live TV. Contact alone was never the test. Intent and position always were.
3 questions before we go. Answers in the description if you want to check yourself. Question 1. Which of tonight's 6 players later became globally infamous for a different, opposite kind of handball, stopping a goal instead of scoring one? Question 2. How much was Raul fined by UEFA for his handball goal against Leeds? Question 3. Under Law 12, what actually matters more than whether the ball touched the arm? Deliberate contact and body silhouette, or just contact itself? If you want the 2 originals, Maradona's actual Hand of God and Henry's handball against Ireland, Video 12 has both, in full. And if you want the complete breakdown of how handball is supposed to be called under every part of Law 12, Video 7 walks through the whole rule from scratch. Out of all 6 goals tonight, which one do you think was the most blatant? Fabiano's double touch, Raul's non-denial, or Messi's Hand of God 2.0?
Argue about it in the comments. I read all of it. See you in the next one.